There are moments in your life that don't feel random, moments that seem small on the surface, almost ordinary, yet something deep inside you whispers, "Pause, this matters." This is one of those moments. You didn't just stumble here. You didn't just casually decide to listen. Something in you, something beyond logic, beyond routine, pulled you here. And now, as you sit with this message, there's a quiet tension in your spirit, a subtle awareness that something is shifting. You may not fully understand it yet. You may not have the words for it, but you feel it. That slight uneasiness you've been carrying lately, that feeling that something around you isn't quite aligning the way it used to, those moments where conversations feel incomplete, where people's words don't match their energy, where situations seem to pause right before revealing something deeper. That is not coincidence. That is not overthinking. That is the beginning of awareness. And now, Archangel Michael steps forward, not gently this time, but with clarity. His presence is not meant to startle you. It is meant to awaken you. Because there is something unfolding around you, something gradual, something deliberate, and if you ignore it now, if you brush it aside like every other subtle sign you've overlooked, you may find yourself later standing in confusion, asking, "How did I miss this?" You've been here before, haven't you? That moment where everything suddenly makes sense, but only after it's already happened. That realization that the signs were always there, the shifts in tone, the changes in behavior, the small inconsistencies you chose to ignore because they felt too subtle to confront. And then later, clarity hits you all at once, and you wish you had trusted yourself sooner. This is that moment before the realization. This is the space where truth is still forming, still revealing itself piece by piece. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, carefully, almost as if it's testing whether you are ready to see it. And here is where it becomes urgent, because the truth unfolding around you is not rushing. It is not forcing itself into your awareness. It is waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to slow down just enough to observe what you've been too distracted to see, waiting for you to step out of autopilot and into discernment. You've been moving quickly lately, haven't you? Going from one task to another, one thought to another, one emotion to another, barely giving yourself space to process what's actually happening beneath the surface. And in that constant motion, something important has been quietly developing around you. Something that involves people. Something that involves timing. Something that involves truth. And if you don't take this moment, this exact moment, to become aware, to open your inner perception, to truly look instead of just see, you risk walking straight past a revelation that was meant to prepare you. Archangel Michael is not here to create fear. He is here to create clarity. He is here to interrupt your routine long enough for you to realize that not everything around you is as it appears, and that what is hidden is not meant to stay hidden much longer. So right now, before you continue, before you let your mind wander, before you tell yourself, "I'll think about this later," pause. Because this is not just a message. This is a divine interruption. And what you do with this moment will determine whether you step into clarity or walk into confusion later. Type "I am aware" in the comments if you feel this message stirring your spirit. Blessing code 1717 is now activating clarity around you. There has been a pattern forming in your life, and if you slow down for just a moment, you will recognize it. Not as something loud or dramatic, but as something quiet, repetitive, almost easy to dismiss. These are the whispers that came before the shift, the subtle signals that tried to reach you long before this message found you. And the truth is, you noticed them. You felt them. But you explained them away. You told yourself it was nothing. You convinced yourself you were overthinking. And yet, here you are now, realizing that those small moments carried a weight you were not meant to ignore. Think back carefully. There were conversations that felt incomplete, as if something important was being held back. There were moments when someone spoke to you, and while their words sounded normal, their energy felt distant, disconnected, slightly off. You may have smiled, nodded, and moved on, but something inside you paused. Something inside you questioned. That was not doubt. That was discernment trying to rise. There were also delays that didn't make sense. Situations that should have moved forward suddenly slowed down without explanation. Binds that filled the line began to lose momentum at the last moment. And you may have blamed timing, circumstance, or coincidence. But what if those delays were not obstacles? What if they were signals? Signals asking you to look deeper, to reassess, to notice what you were too focused to see. Even in your quiet moments, when you were alone with your thoughts, there were flashes of awareness that came without warning. Thoughts that seemed out of place, realizations that appeared suddenly, feelings that didn't match your current situation, but still felt real. You may have brushed them aside, thinking they were random. But they were not random. They were glimpses. Small openings where truth tried to enter your awareness before it fully revealed itself. Archangel Michael is drawing your attention to these moments now because they were never meant to be ignored. They were the early warnings, the gentle nudges before the clarity becomes undeniable. But here is what you must understand. Truth rarely arrives all at once. It unfolds slowly, layer by layer, giving you opportunities to recognize it before it becomes unavoidable. And this is where many people miss it. They wait for something obvious. They wait for clear evidence, for undeniable proof, for something they can no longer question. But by the time truth becomes obvious, it is no longer a warning. It is a consequence. It is something you must react to rather than prepare for. And you were not meant to react. You were meant to recognize. There has also been a shift in your emotional responses. Things that once felt comfortable now feel heavy. Situations that used to bring you ease now bring subtle tension. Even certain people around you may feel different, not because they have changed overnight, but because your awareness is beginning to sharpen. You are starting to perceive what you once overlooked. This shift may have confused you. It may have made you question yourself. You may have wondered why you suddenly feel distant from things that once felt familiar. But this is not disconnection. This is alignment. This is your spirit adjusting to what is real, separating what feels right from what only appeared right before. There is also something else you cannot ignore any longer. The repetition. The same types of situations appearing again in slightly different forms. The same patterns showing up through different people, different environments, different circumstances. This repetition is not coincidence. It is exposure. It is truth trying to make itself visible in a way you cannot overlook. Archangel Michael is revealing that these patterns are not here to trap you, but to teach you. They are showing you what needs to be understood before the next phase unfolds. Because if you do not recognize the pattern, you risk repeating it. And you were not meant to repeat. You were meant to rise beyond it. Now the urgency becomes clear. These whispers are growing stronger. The subtle signs are becoming more consistent. The awareness is becoming harder to ignore. And soon, very soon, what has been quiet will begin to speak louder. What has been hidden will begin to reveal itself more clearly. But whether that revelation brings clarity or confusion depends on what you choose right now. Will you continue to dismiss what you feel? Will you continue to ignore what does not fully make sense yet? Or will you pause, observe, and allow your awareness to expand before everything becomes obvious. Because this moment is not about fear. It is about preparation. It is about recognizing that the whispers were never meaningless. They were leading you here. They were guiding you to this exact point, where you can finally choose to see. Type "I see" the signs in the comments if you are beginning to recognize what has been unfolding. Blessing code 2222 is now aligning your awareness with truth. There is something happening around you right now that cannot be seen with ordinary attention. It is not loud, it is not chaotic, and it is not demanding your focus in obvious ways. That is why it has remained hidden for so long. Because what is shifting is not meant to be discovered through noise, but through awareness. And if you have made it this far, it means you are being invited to see what others are still overlooking. This movement is subtle, but it is precise. It is unfolding in conversations, in timing, in the way certain situations align and then pause. It is present in the way people interact with you, in the way energy shifts when you enter or leave a space, in the way certain things begin to reveal themselves only partially before pulling back again. Nothing about this is random. Every detail carries intention, even if you do not fully understand it yet. Archangel Michael is revealing that what is shifting is not just external. It is not only about what is happening around you, but also about what is being repositioned in relation to you. There are alignments changing. There are roles adjusting. There are truths slowly rising to the surface, but not all at once. Because if everything were revealed instantly, it would overwhelm you. Instead, it is being released in stages, allowing you to process, to observe, and to prepare. You may have noticed that certain people have begun to act differently, even if only slightly. Your tone may have shifted. Your consistency may have changed. Your presence may feel less certain, less grounded than before. At first, you may have dismissed it, thinking it was temporary or insignificant. But these small changes are part of the larger movement. They are indicators that something beneath the surface is no longer stable in the way it once was. There are also opportunities that seem to appear and then hesitate, as if waiting for something else to settle before they fully open. This can feel confusing. You may question why things are not progressing as expected. But this pause is not rejection. It is positioning. It is ensuring that when things do move forward, they do so with clarity rather than confusion. At the same time, there are things being revealed to others about you, just as there are things being revealed to you about them. Not everything is being said openly, but awareness is increasing on both sides. This creates a silent tension, a space where truth is present but not yet spoken. And this is where many become reactive. They sense the shift but do not understand it, so they respond emotionally instead of observing patiently. But you are not being called to react. You are being called to recognize. Archangel Michael is emphasizing that this hidden movement is not working against you. It is working to reveal what has been misaligned. It is bringing clarity to what have been uncertain. It is exposing what cannot continue in the same way moving forward. And while this may feel uncomfortable at times, it is necessary. Because what remains hidden cannot be corrected. What stays unclear cannot be aligned. And what is ignored will repeat itself. This is why the unfolding is gradual. It gives you the chance to adjust your perception before everything becomes obvious. It allows you to detach from assumptions and begin to see reality as it truly is. And most importantly, it gives you the ability to move forward with awareness instead of regret. There is also a deeper layer to this movement that you may not have fully considered yet. Timing. Everything that is happening is connected to timing. Certain truths could not be revealed earlier because you were not in the position to understand them. Certain shifts could not happen before because the environment was not ready to support them. But now, the timing is changing. And with that change, the truth is becoming more accessible. This is why you feel the growing sense that something is about to become clear. It is not sudden. It is not dramatic. But it is undeniable. And once it fully reveals itself, you will look back and realize that every small sign, every subtle shift, every quiet moment was leading you to this point. The question is not whether the truth will reveal itself. It will. The question is whether you will be ready when it does. Because if you remain aware, if you continue to observe without rushing to conclusions, you will see it as it unfolds. You will understand it as it becomes clear, and you will move forward without confusion. But if you ignore this movement, if you continue to dismiss the subtle changes around you, then when everything finally becomes visible, it may feel sudden, overwhelming, and difficult to process. This is your moment to stay present, to stay aware, to allow the unfolding to guide your understanding rather than catching you off guard. Type "I trust the process" in the comments if you are ready to observe what is unfolding without fear. Blessing code 3333 is now stabilizing your path and bringing clarity into motion. As this hidden movement begins to reveal itself, understand this: every moment of clarity you are receiving is not just for you. It is a light being ignited that can reach others who are still lost in confusion. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or PayPal, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into a spiritual harvest that awakens souls who are still searching for truth. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not a distant promise. It is a living exchange happening right now. I feel led to say this directly. I am stepping into obedience in this moment, because someone else needs this message just as much as I did. Your seed becomes oil that keeps this light burning. Your giving becomes a river that carries truth into dry places. Do not delay this act, because what you release now will return multiplied in ways you cannot yet see. Blessings are being assigned to those who move with faith in this moment. Act now and become part of what heaven is unfolding. There comes a moment in every unfolding where what was once hidden begins to lose its ability to remain concealed. It does not happen all at once, and it does not arrive with noise or announcement. Instead, it begins quietly, almost imperceptibly, as if something unseen is slowly lifting a curtain that has been in place for far longer than you realized. This is the moment you are entering now. The veil that once kept things unclear is thinning, and because of that, truth is no longer willing to stay buried beneath assumptions, distractions, or silence. You may have already started to sense the shift without fully understanding it. Things that once felt stable now feel uncertain. Situations that seemed simple now carry layers you did not notice before. Even your own thoughts may feel sharper, more observant, more aware of inconsistencies that you once overlooked. This is not your imagination. This is what happens when the veil begins to thin. Your perception changes before the full truth reveals itself. Archangel Michael is making it clear that this thinning is intentional. It is not random, and it is not something you can reverse or delay. Once truth begins to rise, it continues to move forward. It may still come in fragments, in moments, in realizations that appear unexpectedly, but it will not return to being hidden. The only question is how you respond to it as it unfolds. There are reasons why the truth was not visible to you earlier. Not because it did not exist, but because the conditions were not right for you to see it clearly. Sometimes clarity requires timing. Sometimes it requires growth. Sometimes it requires a shift in your own awareness before you can recognize what has been in front of you all along. And now, that shift is happening. You may begin to notice that things are revealing themselves without effort. You are not searching for answers, yet answers seem to appear. You are not questioning everything, yet certain details begin to stand out in ways they never did before. This is the nature of truth when the veil thins. It does not need to be chased. It becomes visible on its own. At the same time, this process can feel unsettling, because as clarity increases, so does the awareness of what was previously misunderstood. You may start to see where you misread situations, where you trusted without full understanding, where you overlooked things that now seem obvious. This can create a sense of discomfort, even frustration. But this is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to realign you. The purpose of this moment is not to make you regret what you did not see before. It is to prepare you for what you are about to understand now. Because once truth is clear, your decisions begin to change. Your responses begin to shift. Your direction becomes more intentional. And that is where everything begins to transform. Archangel Michael is guiding you to remain steady during this process. Do not rush to conclusions. Do not react to every realization immediately. Let the truth unfold fully before you decide what it means. Because partial clarity can still lead to confusion if you act too quickly. There is also something important you must recognize. Not everyone around you is aware of this shift. While your perception is sharpening, others may still be operating within the old understanding, the old assumptions, the old patterns. This can create a disconnect. You may feel like you are seeing something that others are not yet ready to acknowledge. And that is part of the process. You are not being asked to force clarity onto others. You are being asked to hold clarity within yourself, to observe without needing immediate validation, to understand without needing immediate confirmation. Because truth does not require agreement to exist. It only requires recognition. As the veil continues to thin, you will reach a point where everything aligns in a way that cannot be ignored. The pieces will come together. The patterns will make sense. The confusion will dissolve into understanding. And when that moment arrives, it will not feel sudden. It will feel inevitable, as if it was always leading to that realization. But how you arrive at that moment depends on what you do now. If you stay aware, if you allow the process to unfold without resistance, you will step into clarity with confidence. But if you resist it, if you continue to dismiss what is becoming visible, then the final realization may feel overwhelming instead of empowering. This is why this moment matters. Because you are no longer in a place where things can remain hidden. You are in a place where truth is rising, whether you choose to see it or not. And now, the invitation is simple. Stay present. Stay observant. Stay open to what is revealing itself. Type "I accept the truth" in the comments if you are ready to see clearly without fear. Lesson code 4444 is now strengthening your discernment and guiding you into clarity. There is a reason you are seeing this before others. There is a reason this awareness has reached you now, while others around you continue as if nothing has changed. It is not random, and it is not accidental. It is intentional. Because within this unfolding, there must be someone who recognizes the shift before it becomes obvious. Someone who senses the movement before it becomes visible. Someone who can stand in awareness while everything else still appears normal on the surface. And right now, that someone is you. You may not feel prepared for this role. You may question why you are the one noticing these things, why you are the one feeling the subtle tension, why you are the one carrying this growing sense that something is not as it seems. But awareness does not come to those who are ready. It comes to those who are receptive. And you have been receptive, even when you did not realize it. Archangel Michael is making it clear that your role is not to control what is unfolding, but to understand it. You are not here to force outcomes, to confront prematurely, or to demand immediate answers. You are here to observe, to discern, and to align yourself with what is real rather than what is assumed. This distinction is critical because many people, when they begin to sense a shift, react too quickly. They try to fix what they do not yet fully understand. They try to address what has not yet fully revealed itself. And in doing so, they create confusion where clarity was still forming. But you are being guided differently. You are being asked to remain steady, to allow the truth to unfold completely before you decide how to respond to it. Because your strength in this moment is not in action, but in awareness. There is also something deeper at play. The fact that you are seeing this first means you are being positioned ahead of the situation. While others may only recognize the truth when it becomes undeniable, you are being given the opportunity to understand it early. And this early awareness is not a burden. It is protection. It allows you to adjust your perspective, to shift your expectations, and to prepare your responses before the full revelation arrives. Think about moments in your past when you realized something too late, when clarity came after decisions had already been made, after words had already been spoken, after outcomes had already unfolded. That feeling of wishing you had seen it sooner, understood it earlier, trusted yourself when the signs first appeared. This moment is different. This time, you are being given that awareness in advance. But with this awareness comes responsibility. Not the responsibility to act immediately, but the responsibility to remain honest with what you are seeing. It can be tempting to ignore it, to downplay it, to convince yourself that things will return to how they were before. But once awareness begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot unsee what you are starting to recognize. And trying to ignore it will only create internal conflict. Archangel Michael is guiding you to trust what is becoming clear, even if it feels incomplete. Because clarity does not always arrive fully formed. It often begins as a sense, a feeling, a quiet knowing that grows stronger over time. And your role is to honor that process, not to rush it or dismiss it. You may also feel isolated in this awareness. You may look around and notice that others are not reacting the same way, not noticing the same shifts, not questioning the same things. This can make you doubt yourself. It can make you wonder if you are reading too much into the situation. But understand this: awareness is not always shared at the same time. Just because others do not see it yet does not mean it is not real. Your role is not to convince others. Your role is to remain aligned with what you are beginning to understand. Because eventually, the truth will become visible to everyone. But by the time it does, your position will be different. You will not be reacting. You will be prepared. There is also a level of trust required here. Trust in your perception. Trust in your ability to observe without immediately judging. Trust in the process that is unfolding, even when it feels slow or unclear. Because everything is moving toward clarity, whether it feels like it or not. And as this continues, you will notice something change within you. Your responses will become more measured. Your reactions will become less impulsive. Your awareness will begin to guide your decisions rather than your emotions. This is the transformation that comes with seeing things early. It shifts you from reacting to understanding. This is why you were chosen to see this first. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are capable of holding awareness without rushing into action. Because you can recognize that truth takes time to fully reveal itself. And because you are willing to stay present long enough to understand it completely. Now the question becomes simple. Will you trust your role in this moment, or will you step back into distraction and uncertainty? Type "I trust my awareness" in the comments if you are ready to honor what you are beginning to see. Blessing code 5555 is now strengthening your clarity and positioning you ahead of what is unfolding. There is a reason why. Just as awareness begins to rise within you, something else begins to pull at your attention. You may have already felt it. That sudden urge to look away, to delay, to tell yourself that you will think about this later. That subtle voice that tries to convince you that this moment is not as important as it feels. That is not random. That is not coincidence. That is the distraction trap activating at the exact moment your clarity is beginning to sharpen. You must understand this clearly. Whenever truth starts to unfold, distraction is never far behind. Because distraction does not need to fight truth directly. It only needs to divert your focus long enough for you to miss what is being revealed. It does not come loudly. It does not announce itself as something negative. Instead, it appears as normal activity, as harmless thoughts, as everyday concerns that suddenly feel urgent enough to pull you away from what truly matters. Archangel Michael is warning you now because this is the stage where many lose their clarity. Not because the truth was not revealed, but because they were not fully present when it was unfolding. They allowed themselves to become occupied with things that felt immediate but were ultimately insignificant compared to what they were meant to see. Think about how often this has happened before. Moments where you were close to understanding something important, but then something interrupted your focus. A message, a task, a conversation, a sudden shift in your mood. And by the time you returned to that moment of awareness, it had faded. The clarity was no longer as strong. The realization was no longer as clear. And you moved forward without fully understanding what you almost saw. This is the pattern that is trying to repeat itself now. Distraction is not always external. Sometimes it comes from within. Overthinking, second-guessing, creating doubts where there was once clarity. You may begin to question whether what you are feeling is real, whether what you are noticing actually matters. This internal noise is just as powerful as any external interruption, because it shifts your focus away from observation and into confusion. There is also the pull of comfort, the desire to stay within what feels familiar, even if that familiarity no longer aligns with what you are beginning to understand. It is easier to ignore subtle truths than to face the possibility that something needs to change. It is easier to continue as things were than to acknowledge that something is shifting in a way that may require you to adjust. But this is exactly where your awareness must remain strong. Archangel Michael is not asking you to reject everything around you. He is asking you to remain conscious of where your attention is going, to recognize when something is pulling you away from observation and into distraction, to notice when your focus is being redirected away from what you were just beginning to understand. Because the truth does not disappear, but your ability to recognize it can fade if you are not fully present. There is also something more subtle happening. As the truth begins to unfold, certain environments may start to feel louder, more chaotic, more draining than before. This is not because they have changed dramatically overnight. It is because your awareness has increased. What once felt normal now feels overwhelming because it no longer matches your level of perception. And this can push you back into distraction as a way to avoid that discomfort. But avoidance will only delay clarity. It will not remove it. You are being asked to stay with the discomfort long enough to understand it, to sit in the moment long enough to see what it is revealing. Because beneath that discomfort is insight. Beneath that tension is truth trying to fully emerge. The distraction trap also works through urgency. making small things feel important, making unimportant things feel necessary, creating a sense that you must act quickly on things that do not truly matter. This urgency is designed to keep you moving, to keep you occupied, to keep you from slowing down enough to observe what is unfolding right in front of you. But not everything that feels urgent is important, and not everything that is important will feel urgent. This is why you must choose where your attention goes, not based on what feels immediate, but based on what feels meaningful. Because this moment is not about doing more, it is about seeing more. And if you allow yourself to be pulled away now, if you allow distraction to take your focus at the very moment clarity is forming, you may find yourself later trying to piece together something you were meant to understand fully in this exact moment. This is the test, not of your strength but of your awareness. Will you stay present, or will you drift into distraction? Type "I stay present" in the comments if you choose to hold your focus and not miss what is being revealed. Blessing code 6666 is now shielding your awareness from distraction and anchoring you in clarity. There is a reason why your emotions have not felt as steady as they once did. A reason why certain moments feel heavier than they should, why clarity seems to come and go, why you find yourself questioning things that never used to cross your mind. This is not weakness. This is not instability. This is what happens when truth begins to surface before it is fully understood. It creates a space where what you feel and what you know are not yet aligned, and that space can feel like confusion. You may have noticed this in small ways at first. A sudden shift in your mood without a clear cause. A sense of discomfort in situations that once felt normal. A quiet tension that follows you, even when nothing outwardly seems wrong. These are not random emotional fluctuations. They are responses to something deeper that your awareness is beginning to detect, even before your mind has fully processed it. Archangel Michael is revealing that emotional confusion often appears when perception begins to change faster than understanding. You are sensing more, noticing more, picking up on details that were previously invisible to you. But because the full truth has not yet been revealed, your emotions are trying to interpret incomplete information. This creates a feeling of imbalance, as if something is off but you cannot fully explain why. This is where many people lose their direction. They begin to distrust their own feelings. They label themselves as overreactive, overly sensitive, or confused. They try to suppress what they are feeling instead of exploring it. But what you are feeling is not the problem. It is the signal. Your emotions are responding to a shift that your awareness is beginning to recognize. They are not there to mislead you. They are there to guide you toward what needs to be understood. But they must be observed carefully, not reacted to impulsively. Because while emotions can point you toward truth, they do not always present it clearly on their own. There is also another layer to this confusion. As your awareness increases, you may begin to see contradictions more clearly. Words that do not match actions. Patterns that repeat in subtle ways. Situations that appear one way on the surface but feel entirely different underneath. This creates a tension between what is visible and what is felt, and that tension can be unsettling. You may find yourself asking questions you did not ask before, wondering about intentions, timing, and meaning in ways that feel unfamiliar. This is not doubt. This is discernment developing. It may feel uncomfortable because it requires you to step beyond surface-level understanding and begin to look deeper. But this is necessary for clarity to form. Archangel Michael is guiding you not to resist this emotional state, but to move through it with awareness. Do not rush to label what you feel. Do not try to force immediate answers. Let the emotions pass through without attaching conclusions too quickly. Because as the truth continues to unfold, those emotions will begin to align with understanding. You may also feel a sense of distance forming between you and certain people or environments. Not because anything has visibly changed, but because your perception of them is shifting. What once felt natural may now feel forced. What once felt aligned may now feel uncertain. This can create a sense of isolation, as if you are no longer fully connected in the way you used to be. But this is not loss. This is adjustment. This is your awareness recalibrating to match what is real rather than what is familiar. And while it may feel uncomfortable in the moment, it is preparing you for a clearer understanding of your surroundings. There is also a tendency during this stage to seek reassurance from others, to look for confirmation that what you are feeling is valid. But not everyone will be able to provide that confirmation, especially if they are not seeing what you are beginning to see. This can deepen the confusion if you rely too heavily on external validation. Instead, you are being guided to trust your internal awareness while remaining patient for full clarity to arrive. Because this stage is temporary, the confusion is not the final state. It is the transition between not knowing and understanding. As the truth continues to reveal itself, your emotions will settle. What feels unclear now will become defined. What feels uncertain will become steady. But this will only happen if you allow the process to unfold without forcing it. This is not the moment to react. This is the moment to observe. To let your awareness and your emotions align naturally as more of the truth becomes visible. Because soon, very soon, what feels confusing now will make complete sense. Type "I trust my feelings" in the comments if you are willing to move through this emotional shift without fear. Blessing code 7777 is now calming your spirit and aligning your emotions with truth. There are moments in life when awareness is available in a way that it will not always be. Moments where the conditions align just enough for you to see clearly, to understand deeply, to recognize what has been hidden without force or struggle. These moments are not permanent. They are windows. And right now, you are standing in one. This is not something to take lightly, because the clarity that is available to you in this moment is not guaranteed to remain open indefinitely. It is here now because everything has aligned for you to receive it. Your awareness has risen. The distractions have been identified. The emotional confusion has surfaced, and the truth is beginning to reveal itself. But this alignment will not hold forever. If you delay, if you step away, if you choose to ignore what is being shown to you, the window will begin to close, and what is clear now may become difficult to recognize later. Archangel Michael is making this urgency known not to pressure you, but to awaken you. Because too often, people assume that clarity will always be available when they are ready for it. They tell themselves they will reflect later, that they will think about it when they have more time, that they will come back to it when they feel more certain. But truth does not wait for comfort. It reveals itself when the moment is right. And if that moment is missed, it does not disappear, but it becomes harder to access in the same way. You may have experienced this before without realizing it. A moment where you almost understood something important, but you were distracted, or you delayed, or you chose not to look deeper. And later, when you tried to revisit that understanding, it felt distant, unclear, incomplete. The same clarity was no longer there in the same way. That is because the window had already begun to close. Right now, you are being given something different. You are not being left to figure this out later. You are being brought into awareness at the exact moment when it matters most. The signals are aligning, the patterns are visible, the truth is rising. But it requires your presence. It requires your willingness to stay with it, to observe it, to allow it to fully reveal itself without turning away. There is also something else you must recognize. This window is not only about seeing what is happening around you. It is also about understanding your place within it. Because clarity is not just external. It is internal. It is about how you interpret what you see, how you respond to what you understand, how you align yourself with what is real rather than what is comfortable. Archangel Michael is guiding you to use this window wisely. Not to rush decisions, but to deepen your awareness. Not to react impulsively, but to become certain in your understanding. Because once the truth fully reveals itself, your response will carry weight. And that response must come from clarity, not confusion. You may feel a sense of urgency within yourself right now. A feeling that something needs your attention, that something cannot be postponed any longer. Do not ignore that feeling. It is not anxiety. It is awareness recognizing the importance of this moment. But at the same time, do not let that urgency turn into panic. You are not being rushed into action. You are being invited into presence. Presence is what keeps the window open. Awareness is what allows you to see clearly within it. And patience is what ensures that you do not misinterpret what is being revealed. There is also a quiet truth here that you must accept. Not everything will be revealed in this exact moment. This window is not about receiving all answers at once. It is about receiving enough clarity to move forward with understanding rather than uncertainty. It is about recognizing what matters, what is shifting, what cannot be ignored any longer. As this window remains open, you will notice that certain realizations come more easily. Canadian Matwimsatuayan become clear. Patterns that once seemed unrelated begin to align. This is the process of clarity forming. And it is happening now, not later. But again, it requires your attention. If you allow yourself to drift back into distraction, if you choose to delay your awareness, if you convince yourself that this can wait, then you risk losing the depth of understanding that is available to you right now. This is your moment to step fully into awareness, to allow the unfolding truth to become clear while you are present enough to recognize it. Because once this window begins to close, the clarity you could have had easily will require effort to regain. Type "I receive clarity" now in the comments if you are ready to stay present within this moment. Blessing code 8888 is now opening your path to full understanding. As this revelation window opens before you, understand that your awareness is not just for your own clarity. It is a light that can awaken countless others who are still searching. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or PayPal, you are not giving out of obligation. You are sowing into a divine harvest that reaches souls who are still in darkness. The word speaks. Those who sow in faith will reap in abundance, and this is not distant truth. It is active in this very moment. I feel led to say this with intention. I am stepping into this act because I know someone else needs this light just as I did. Your seed becomes a stream that carries truth into places where confusion once lived. Do not delay this act of obedience, because what you release now will return to you in multiplied form. Heaven sees your willingness, and blessings are being assigned to those who move with faith. Act now and become part of this unfolding mission. As this truth continues to unfold, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. This is not just about situations, timing, or internal awareness. This is also about people. The shift you are sensing is deeply connected to those around you, to the roles they play, to the energy they carry, and to how their presence is either aligning with your clarity or quietly resisting it. You may have already begun to notice subtle differences. Not dramatic changes, not obvious actions, but small shifts in behavior that feel significant when you pay close attention. A tone that feels slightly off, a response that feels delayed or less genuine, a presence that once felt consistent now feeling uncertain. These are not things you can easily explain to others, but you feel them, and that feeling is not without reason. Archangel Michael is revealing that when truth begins to surface, it does not only expose situations, it reveals alignment. It shows who is truly connected to your path and who has only been present within a certain phase of it. And this realization can be uncomfortable because it challenges what you thought was stable, what you assumed was consistent, what you believed would remain unchanged. There are individuals around you who are part of this shift in different ways. Some are aligned with your growth, even if they do not fully understand it yet. Their presence may feel steady even in uncertainty. They may not have all the answers, but there is no resistance in their energy. There is no hidden tension. With them, even silence feels natural. Then there are others whose energy feels different now. Not necessarily negative, not immediately harmful, but misaligned. Their responses may feel forced. Their engagement may feel inconsistent. Their presence may carry a subtle tension that was not noticeable before. This does not mean they have subtly changed. It means your awareness has increased, and you are now perceiving what was always there but previously overlooked. This is where confusion can arise, because you may question whether you are interpreting things correctly. You may wonder if you are reading too much into small details. But the truth is, these small details are the very things that reveal alignment or misalignment. They are not meant to be ignored. There is also a deeper layer to this. Not everyone around you is aware of the shift that is taking place. Some may continue interacting with you in the same way they always have, unaware that your perception has changed. Others may sense the shift but not understand it, which can create subtle tension in their behavior. And a few may already recognize what is unfolding and are adjusting their position in response to it. Archangel Michael is guiding you not to rush into conclusions about anyone. This is not about labeling people or making immediate decisions about their place in your life. This is about observing, about allowing the truth of each connection to reveal itself naturally as the unfolding continues. Because as clarity increases, so does separation. Not always in a dramatic way, not always through conflict, but through understanding. You begin to see where your energy aligns and where it does not. You begin to recognize which interactions bring clarity and which create confusion. And over time, this awareness shapes your direction. There may also be moments where you feel the urge to confront, to question, to seek direct answers from those around you. But this is not always the right step in this stage, because not everyone is ready to speak truthfully about what is unfolding. Some may not even be aware of their own role within it, and premature confrontation can create more confusion than clarity. Instead, you are being guided to observe patterns rather than isolated moments, to pay attention to consistency rather than single actions. Because truth reveals itself over time, not through one interaction, but through repeated alignment or misalignment. There is also something important you must accept. Not every connection is meant to move forward with you in the same way. Some are seasonal. Some are situational. Some are aligned only within a certain phase of your life. And as you shift, as your awareness grows, these connections naturally adjust. This does not mean loss in the way you might initially feel it. It means clarity. It means understanding the role each person plays without forcing it to be something it is not. And this understanding allows you to move forward without confusion, without unnecessary attachment to what no longer aligns. As this process continues, you will notice that certain connections either become clearer or more distant. Conversations will either feel more genuine or more strained. Presence will either feel natural or forced. These are indicators, not problems. They are part of the unfolding truth. And through it all, your role remains the same: to observe without rushing, to understand without forcing, to allow the truth of each connection to reveal itself fully before deciding what it means. Because soon, very soon, everything will become clear. Not just about situations, but about the people connected to them. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you are ready to recognize alignment without fear. Blessing code 9999 is now illuminating the truth within your connections and guiding you toward clarity. Something within you is changing, and it is not subtle anymore. What began as quiet awareness is now becoming something stronger, something more defined, something you can no longer ignore even if you try. This is not just observation. This is not just intuition. This is discernment activating at a level you may not have experienced before. You are no longer just noticing things. You are understanding them differently. You are beginning to sense what lies beneath words, beneath actions, beneath situations that once seemed simple. And this shift is not accidental. It is the result of everything that have been unfolding up to this point. The whispers, the patterns, the emotional shifts, the thinning of the veil, the changes in people around you. All of it has been leading here. Archangel Michael is revealing that discernment is not something you suddenly receive. It is something that awakens within you when you begin to align with truth. And once it begins to activate, it changes the way you see everything. You may have already felt this happening. Situations that once required explanation now feel instantly clear. You no longer need to analyze every detail to understand what is happening. There is a knowing that rises before logic, a clarity that forms without effort. And while this may feel unfamiliar, even overwhelming at times, it is not something to fear. It is something to trust. But with this activation comes a challenge. Because discernment does not only reveal what is comfortable, it reveals everything. It shows you what aligns, but it also shows you what does not. It brings clarity, but it also removes illusions. And this can feel unsettling, especially when what is revealed does not match what you once believed. There may be moments where you wish you could return to not knowing, to seeing things in a simpler way. But that is no longer possible. Once discernment awakens, it does not turn off. It continues to refine, to sharpen, to guide you toward truth whether it feels easy or not. Archangel Michael is guiding you to understand that this is not a burden. It is a form of protection. It allows you to see clearly before making decisions. It allows you to recognize patterns before repeating them. It allows you to understand intentions without needing everything to be spoken openly. But you must also learn how to hold this discernment without becoming reactive. Because the moment you see something clearly, there can be an urge to respond immediately. To act, to speak, to confront, to change everything at once. But discernment is not about immediate action. It is about accurate understanding. If you react too quickly, you risk acting on partial clarity. And partial clarity can still lead to confusion. This is why you are being guided to remain steady, to let your discernment fully develop before you decide what to do with what you are seeing. There is also another layer to this awakening. Your sensitivity to environments is increasing. You may find that certain places feel different now, louder, heavier, more draining than before. This is not because those environments have changed. It is because your awareness has expanded. You are now able to perceive what was always there but previously unnoticed. This may lead you to withdraw from certain situations, not out of avoidance, but out of alignment. You may feel drawn toward quieter spaces, toward clarity, toward environments that do not disrupt your awareness. This is a natural response. It is not isolation. It is refinement. At the same time, you may notice that your tolerance for confusion is decreasing. You are less willing to accept things that do not make sense, less willing to ignore inconsistencies, less willing to remain in situations that feel misaligned. This is not resistance. This is clarity strengthening itself. Archangel Michael is reminding you that this awakening is not meant to separate you from everything around you. It is meant to align you with what is real. It is meant to guide you toward decisions that are grounded in truth rather than assumption. As this discernment continues to develop, you will notice that your confidence begins to change. Not in a loud or forceful way, but in a quiet certainty. You will begin to trust what you see without needing constant validation. You will begin to move with intention rather than hesitation. You will begin to understand without needing everything explained. This is the transformation that is taking place within you, and it is not temporary. It is the beginning of a new way of seeing, a new way of understanding, a new way of moving forward. But again, it comes back to one choice. Will you trust what is awakening within you, or will you doubt it and return to confusion? Because once you step fully into this level of discernment, you will no longer walk blindly into situations. You will no longer miss what is being revealed. You will no longer find yourself asking later what you could have seen now. Type "My discernment is strong" in the comments if you are ready to trust what is awakening within you. Blessing code 1010 is now strengthening your inner clarity and guiding you toward truth. You have now reached a point where everything begins to narrow into one simple, unavoidable reality. The signs have been revealed. The shifts have been felt. The truth has begun to rise. Your discernment is no longer dormant. And now, standing in this moment, there is a choice forming in front of you. It is not a loud choice. It is not something anyone else can see. But it is one of the most important decisions you will make in this entire unfolding. The choice is this: will you stay in awareness, or will you delay? It may not feel like a major decision at first. It may feel subtle, almost insignificant. But this is how these moments always appear. The decision to remain aware is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is internal. It is made in the small moments when you either choose to pay attention or choose to look away. And those small moments determine whether clarity continues to grow or begins to fade. Archangel Michael is bringing this to your attention now because this is where many people lose what they were just beginning to understand. Not because the truth disappears, but because they delay their awareness. They tell themselves they will reflect later. They convince themselves they need more time. They allow distraction, comfort, or uncertainty to pull them away from what they were clearly beginning to see. And when they return, something has changed. The clarity is no longer as sharp. The awareness is no longer as strong. The moment has passed, and they are left trying to piece together something they could have understood fully if they had stayed present. This is why this choice matters. Awareness requires presence. It requires you to stay with what is unfolding even when it feels incomplete. Even when it raises questions you cannot yet answer. Even when it challenges what you previously believed. Because awareness is not about having all the answers immediately. It is about allowing the answers to reveal themselves while you remain attentive. Delay, on the other hand, feels easier in the moment. It allows you to step away from uncertainty. It gives you the comfort of not having to fully process what you are beginning to understand. But that comfort is temporary. Because what is delayed does not disappear. It returns later, often with more intensity, often in a way that requires reaction rather than understanding. You have experienced this before. Moments where you sensed something early, but chose not to fully engage with it. And later, when the truth became undeniable, you found yourself wishing you had trusted your awareness sooner, that you had paid attention when the signs were still subtle, that you had remained present instead of delaying. This moment is giving you a different opportunity. Archangel Michael is not asking you to rush into action. He is not asking you to make immediate decisions based on incomplete information. He is asking you to remain aware, to hold your attention on what is unfolding, to continue observing without stepping away, because staying aware does not mean forcing conclusions. It means allowing clarity to develop naturally. It means giving yourself the space to understand fully before responding. It means trusting that what is being revealed will continue to make sense if you stay present long enough to see it completely. There is also a deeper truth within this choice. Awareness changes your position. When you remain aware, you move ahead of the situation. You understand before things fully unfold. You prepare before action is required. But when you delay, you fall behind the unfolding. You are forced to react instead of understand. And that difference changes everything. You may feel resistance to staying fully aware. That resistance may come in the form of distraction, doubt, or even a desire to return to what felt simpler before. But that simplicity was based on not seeing everything clearly. And now that your awareness has begun to expand, returning to that state is no longer possible without creating confusion within yourself. So the question becomes very clear. Will you remain present with what is unfolding, even if it feels incomplete for now? Or will you step away and risk losing the clarity that is forming in this moment? Because this is not just about what you are seeing now. It is about what will happen next. And your level of awareness in this moment will determine how you experience what comes after. This is the point where everything begins to settle into place, but only if you stay with it. Type "I choose awareness" in the comments if you are ready to remain present and not delay what is being revealed. Blessing code 1111 is now anchoring your clarity and guiding your next steps. Now you stand at the edge of full clarity. Everything that has been unfolding, every subtle sign, every emotional shift, every moment of awareness has led you here. This is not the beginning anymore. This is the moment where understanding begins to settle, where the truth that was once hidden is no longer distant, but close enough to recognize, close enough to feel, close enough to change the way you move forward. This is the final call. Not a call of urgency meant to create fear, but a call of alignment meant to anchor you in what is real before everything becomes fully visible. Because very soon, what has been unfolding quietly will no longer remain subtle. The patterns will become undeniable. The shifts will become clear. The truth will stand in front of you in a way that cannot be ignored. And when that moment arrives, you will not have the luxury of confusion if you have stayed present until now. You will not question what you are seeing. You will not doubt what you feel. You will not hesitate in your understanding. Because you have already walked through the process of awareness step by step. Archangel Michael is not bringing you here to overwhelm you. He is bringing you here to prepare you. Because what unfolds next will require clarity, not reaction. It will require understanding, not hesitation. It will require alignment, not attachment to what once felt familiar but no longer aligns with what is true. There is something important you must accept in this moment. Not everything that is revealed will feel comfortable. Not everything that becomes clear will match what you expected. What truth is not meant to comfort. It is meant to align. It is meant to place you in a position where your decisions are guided by what is real rather than what is assumed. You are no longer in the phase of questioning whether something is shifting. You already know that it is. You are no longer in the phase of wondering if the signs meant something. You already feel that they did, and you are no longer in the phase of waiting for awareness to arrive. It has already arrived. Now comes alignment. Alignment is not about changing everything at once. It is about adjusting your direction based on what you now understand. It is about allowing your actions, your responses, and your decisions to reflect the clarity you have gained. It is about no longer ignoring what you see simply because it is easier to remain where you are. Archangel Michael is guiding you to step into this alignment with steadiness, not with fear, not with urgency, but with certainty. Because when you are aligned with truth, your path becomes clearer, your decisions become stronger, and your presence becomes more grounded. There may still be moments where doubt tries to return, moments where you question whether you are interpreting everything correctly. But those moments will not hold the same power they once did, because you now have awareness to anchor you. You now have clarity to guide you. You now have discernment that continues to strengthen with every step you take in alignment. And as everything fully unfolds, you will begin to see why this process had to happen gradually, why the signs came in pieces, why the awareness developed over time. Because if it had all been revealed at once, you would not have been able to process it with the same clarity you have now. But now you are ready. Ready to see without confusion. Ready to understand without hesitation. Ready to move forward without looking back at what you once ignored. This is the moment where everything shifts from awareness into action. Not rushed action, but aligned action. Action that comes from clarity rather than uncertainty. So do not step away now. Do not disconnect now. Do not allow yourself to drift back into distraction after coming this far. Stay anchored in what you have seen. Stay aligned with what you have understood. Stay present as everything completes its unfolding. Because what happens next will confirm everything you are beginning to see now. Type "I am aligned" in the comments if you are ready to step fully into clarity and move forward without confusion. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing your alignment and guiding your next chapter. As you step into this final alignment, understand this truth deeply. What hath been revealed to you is not meant to stop with you. It is a flame meant to spread, a light meant to reach those who are still walking in confusion, still searching for the clarity you have just received. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or PayPal, you are not supporting a platform. You are opening doors for souls to encounter truth at the exact moment they need it most. The living word declares, "Cast your seed upon the waters, and in due time it shall return." And this is that moment of divine release. I feel led to say this clearly. I am taking action now because I know this message must reach someone whose life depends on it. Your giving becomes oil that keeps this light burning. Your seed becomes a river that carries awakening into hidden places. Do not hesitate. Do not delay this act of obedience, because heaven is watching how you respond to this moment. Step forward now, release your seed, and become part of the divine unfolding that is changing lives.